Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma केवल भक्ति सद्मा चरण पद्मा केवल भक्ति सद्मा बंद मोहि सावधान आते मोहि सावधान आते आहर प्रसादे भाई ए भव तोरिया जाय हर प्रसादे भाई ए भव तोरिया जाय कृष्ण प्राप्ति हो या होते या प्राप्ति हो या होते ते गुरुमुख पद्मा वाक्या चित्ते ते कोरिया क्या गुरुमुख Padmavakya Chitte Koriya Kya Arna Kori Ho Mane Asha Arna Kori Ho Mane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati ऐसे उत्तमागति गुरु चरणे राति ऐसे उत्तमागति जय प्रसाद पूरे सर्व आशा प्रसाद पूरे सर्व आशा चक्षुदाम दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदाम दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते वेदिकति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते वेदे गाय जहार चरितो वेदे गाय जहार चरितो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अदम जनारा बंधु गुरु करुणा सिंधु अदम जनारा लोके नाथ लोकेरो जीवाना लोके नाथ लोकेरो जीवाना आहा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया आहा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया विभेजास सुख त्रिभुवाना विभेजास सुख त्रिभुवाना शीला प्रभुपाद पतित पवाना प्रभुपाद पतित पवाना जयो प्रभुपदा जयो प्रभुपदा जयो प्रभुपदा शीला प्रभुपदा जयो प्रभुपदा जयो प्रभुपदा जयो प्रभुपदा शीला प्रभुपदा नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले मते भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी Dinamine Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshtarini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshtarini Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Jayo Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Gurudev ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
He is my Lord, proof after proof. From him is static treatment evidence. I am destroyed. Evading scriptures. Our spiritual master is the old.
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo E Avilasi Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha He Tomara Sarana Loy Tara Vancha Purna Hoy Kripa Kori Koro Tare Vrindavana Vasi Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha More Avilas Vilas Tunje Diovas Nayane Shivo Sada Yuga Ruparase Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha. Nivedana Daro Sakiranugata Koro. Seva adhikara dihe mora nijatase. Tulasi Krishna Preyase Namo Namaha. Tulasi Krishna Preyase Namo Namaha. Dina Krishna Dase Koi Hey Namo Nahoy. Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadayena Basi. Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha. Chani chani tapapani Brahma chani chani cha chani
Kani jo tani tani pranashande radhaishina pade pade. Erbo. Chapapani brahma tani kani jo tani tani. Hare Ramo, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Jaya, Tosi Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi Jaya, Tosi Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi. Jaya, Jaya, Tosi Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi Jaya, Tosi Maharani Jaya, Vrinda Devi.
পরম করুণা পরম করুণা পরম করুণা জন নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র পরম করুণা
I think it's something that's
পরম করুণা জন নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র পরম করুণা জন নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র কেবলানন্দ কন্যায় পরম করুণা জন নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র সব অবতার কার শিরোমণি কেবলানন্দ কন্যা
then you just end up getting one channel. Anyway, it's okay. Oh, because this way it's not on the internet. This way the sound's not on the internet. I see. All right, well, if you want to set that up, but then somebody has to like hold it? Somebody has to hold it? Do you want me to play sound again so you can check it?
What's that?
Do you want me to play music again so you can check it? You want me to
Play it. We can just check.
পরম করুণা জন পরম করুণা জন পরম করুণা প্রহু দুই জন নিতাই গৌরচন্দ্র পরম করুণা
Okay, thank you. It's a blind uncle, but at least it's an uncle. It's a blind uncle, but at least it's an uncle. Jagat Guru knows how to do it. But anyway. Okay. So today is March 6th, yes? 6th, 2023 in Hillsborough, North Carolina. And today is Gaur Purnima, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. So, of course, we know that Krishna appeared 500 years ago in Vrindavana and showed his variety of pastimes. However, the Lord was thinking that even though he came and displayed his pastimes, and even though he said in the Bhagavad Gita to surrender, people still weren't doing it. They needed a model. Isn't that right? Right? Don't we need a model? You look, if someone says, be humble, you want to have a model. What does it mean to be humble? Surrender to God. You want a model. So who's a better model than God himself? So therefore he appeared again a little over 500 years ago in Navadvip by the Ganga. What? $4D, yes. Okay, so we could chant this. Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Divse Namaha Namo Krishna Dayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Divse Namaha Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Divse Namaha Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Divse Namaha Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Divse Namaha Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Divse Namaha Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Divse Namaha Namo Mahavaranaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gora Divse Namaha Namo Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nivasesa Nivani Paskachade Satarane Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajivan Sadvoitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Anshakapochibhischa So we're going to meditate today. Yes, I see somebody's in very deep samadhi over there. You might want to stand up in the back. So we're going to meditate today on the song Parama Karuna. So our mission for today's class is that if everybody can try to remember by the end of the class, at least one part of the song. So if by the end of this class, you pick one part, there's, I think, 14 different sections we're going to go through. Pick at least one part that you're going to remember and that you're going to choose to meditate on throughout the day today. So we're going to go through this piece by piece, then we'll sing the whole song together at the end, and that if the technology gods are kind to us, we have a special treat for you at the end.
Karuna Bahudui Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra.
So here we're saying Parama Karuna, that Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda are supremely merciful. So if we are honest, we will admit that we need help. Yes? Anybody able to do anything entirely on their own? Nothing. We cannot even breathe or walk or talk or hold something in our hand without divine grace. Isn't that a fact? What to speak of if we want freedom from material entanglement, and what to speak of if we want love of God. If we want love of God, there has to be a willingness on the part of God to accept our love. Now, one might argue that the Lord is always willing. There's one place Prabhupada said that imperceptibly, Krishna is giving us a chance every minute, 24 hours a day. There's this controversy. Is it our effort or is it mercy? Mercy is always there, yes, but we have to take it. At the same time, there is special mercy. There's a special mercy to enter into the highest realms of love, and there has to be. I've given this analogy so many times, but it's worth meditating on. Each of us, I'm sure, have felt insulted or offended by someone in our lives, yes? We have felt that someone has wronged us. And if that person comes and says, I want to restore the relationship, who gets the ultimate decision as to whether or not the relationship is restored? I do, right? If Mr. Joe Smith has offended me, and then comes to me and says, I'm sorry, please restore the relationship, it's ultimately up to me as the offended party. Isn't that a fact? And if Mr. Joe Smith says, well, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, you have to let me back in, is that going to work? No. In fact, the more the person says that, the less likely I am to let them back in. Isn't that a fact? Yes? I've had this direct experience, and I'm sure all of you have had this experience. So ultimately, it's up to Krishna. We are the ones, Bahirmukhe, we are the ones who have turned our face from Krishna. And again, if we're honest, we'll say that we're still doing that to one extent or another. It's not like just something historical in the past, out of time immemorial. Prabhupada would say, that you can't remember. Well, I turned away from Krishna at some point in the past for some reason, in some circumstance, I can't remember Why am I being punished for it now? No, the fact is that even now I am doing that in some way or another. So it's up to Krishna. And of course, let's say now I'm the offender. I'm sure all of us have offended somebody else, yes? Yes, I've offended people. I'm lucky if I can go a day without offending anybody. So if I'm the one who's offended someone, if I'm the one who's hurt somebody, then I need to not only demonstrate that I've changed my ways, but I also need to ask them, would you please take me back? Would you please restore the relationship? Now, if I'm going to do that, I would like to come to them at the proper time and circumstance, right? I'm not going to call them at 1 a.m. and wake them up and say, hey, can I be your friend again? Huh? Actually, the modes, when you do things at the wrong time and place, pushes things into tamagun. So the Lord has different moods, different frames of mind. The Lord experiences, as Prabhupada says in the story about Jambavan, all of the emotions and the inclinations that we have. We are a little part of Him. Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loke. So if we're going to ask the Lord for mercy, we particularly want to ask Him when He's in a particularly merciful mood. We're going to be most likely to get our petition accepted. So there was a very famous sociological study done many years ago about how human beings get to a sense of morality. How does a human child come as an adult to a sense of morality? And the conclusion was that morality was based on justice and fairness. But some years later, researchers re-looked at the study and saw that everyone in the study had been male and decided to redo the study with females and discovered that then the basis for morality was not justice and fairness, but what was it? Mercy. Now, the Lord is everything. All maleness and femaleness is contained with Him. But as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, He's taking on more that feminine side. And so He's particularly in a merciful mood. Does this make sense to everybody? So He's in a supremely merciful mood. I mean, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the grandfather, I am the father, and I am the mother. Yes? I gave a whole class about this on Mother's Day in New Vrindavan one year, how Krishna is the Supreme Mother. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in a very merciful mood. This particular picture is when the Lord was manifesting Himself as the Lord. Instead of manifesting Himself as a devotee, He was manifesting Himself as the Lord, and He was freely giving benedictions to everyone.
Avatar Shiromani.
So Shiromani literally means the jewel on the head. Shira means head, mani means jewel, the jewel on the head. So one might think, and I'm sure many do, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just a person like us, maybe a great scholar, maybe a great saint. And there's one book where Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, at least accept Mahaprabhu in that way. But we accept that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, and not only the Supreme Lord, but the top manifestation of the Lord. So the Lord has many, many, many incarnations, most of which display a portion of His opulence, a portion of His majesty. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, He is the same as Krishna. He's not some partial manifestation. And of course, He demonstrated this in His Sadbhuj form. So He showed His Sadbhuj form. This is His form where He has 2 arms as the sannyasi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 2 forms as Ramachandra, and 2 arms as Krishna. He also sometimes showed form how He's Vishnu and Krishna. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya saw this form. And to Ramananda Roy, he showed how he is Radha and Krishna. Now, this is specifically very significant. So I just finished reading a book by Gopal Hari Prabhu, Radhika Raman's brother, an analysis of the Bhagavatam using the lens of Maya in the Bhagavatam. And I was thinking very much about how the science of rasa is not explicit or overt in the Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita. Would you agree with me? It's there, but it's hidden. It's you could figure it out with difficulty. You would have to really analyze it to figure it out. And until Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, the Vaishnavas, of course, they were studying the Bhagavatam, they were studying the Bhagavad Gita. If we look at our Sampradaya, if we look at the other Sampradayas, but it was really Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who discussed this whole science of rasa. We find this discussion in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's always fascinated me, and I've never gotten a decent answer to this, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu primarily taught this science of rasa in the Chaitanya Charitamrita to Sanatana Goswami. There's a huge section of the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to Sanatana Goswami, and a lot of what is in that section is also in Rupa Goswami's book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Rupa Goswami took these instructions given to Sanatana Goswami, and perhaps to himself, which is not recorded, and he compiled the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and then the Ujjwala Nilamani. And these books explain, which Srila Prabhupada made the summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in his book, Nectar of Devotion. It was one of the earliest books that he produced. I mean, it was produced so early. I think it was first produced by ISKCON Press. The initial copies of it were not done on a very good press, and they would fall apart. For those of us who were around then, your bindings weren't very good. But I mean, he produced it very, very early in the movement. And when you study Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and then particularly about the conjugal rasa, there's the Ujjwala Nilamani, the depth and the breadth of understanding of the science of rasa is extraordinary. It's absolutely extraordinary. So when you take the basic philosophy, I mean, like the Bhagavad has a lot of analysis of the world, what we would call Sankhya philosophy. Who's the Lord, who's the Jiva, what's the modes of nature, what's the senses, the sense objects, how do these all interact, how does the creation come about, what are the different kinds of yoga. There's a lot of Gyan yoga, there's a lot of Dhyan yoga, a lot of Karma yoga, there's obviously a lot of Bhakti yoga. And there's a whole huge canto, the 10th canto, about Krishna and his relationship with the devotees. But this whole explanation of love of God and the whole explanation also of the variety of devotees is given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada would say that Chaitanya Charitamrita is the postgraduate study. Right? Bhagavad Gita is the beginning, then there's the Bhagavatam, then there's the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that way we can also understand that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the topmost incarnation. What he's giving us is unbelievable. I mean, it's really just like practically beyond comprehension what this incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us. And of course, how do we achieve this? Kevala means only. So it's just joyful. It's not some dry philosophy, as Prabhupada would say. Right? It's simply joyful. Prabhupada would say chanting, dancing, feasting. I mean, think about, in other faiths where if, you want to become a strict Catholic, you live in some monastery away from the population and just you eat, soup and bread, and you take vows of silence, and Right? And we read about this kind of thing in the scripture too. These yogis, they go and of course Krishna talks about this to Arjuna because Arjuna keeps insisting, I can't fight, I have to leave everything. And Krishna says, sure, go to the Himalayas, sit on a deer skin, become cross-eyed looking at your nose. I just want to check. We are going to 7:30 today, yeah? Yeah, okay. So just do that, forget about Draupadi and Subhadra and just eat roots in the forest. And Arjuna's like, I can't do this. Right? How many of us can do this? Just fasting for one day, like today we're fasting till moonrise. So for a lot of us, like, can I fast until moonrise? Right? Or if you've ever done that fast at the end of Chaturmasya, that 5-day fast. So I did it once, and I'm like, sheesh, I could never actually live in the forest on fruits and roots. Forget about this. At the end of 5 days, I'm like, give me real food. These are often the different processes. I mean, they're described in the Bhagavatam. They're described in the Bhagavad Gita. And they have a high failure rate also. There's a high attrition rate. But our process is joyful. Look at that feast we had last night. How many of you ate the feast last night? It was amazing, wasn't it? Those laddus. Shoo. We used to distribute those on the street in New York, those laddus like that, right? And the palak paneer and the cashew rice. And then dancing and dramas. Yes? And even our philosophy is also joyful, isn't it? We don't have dry philosophy. So simply joyful. So just think of this for a minute. So we've got the supreme mercy, the supreme incarnation, teaching the supreme philosophy in a way that's just joyful.
Aja bhai Jaitanantai.
So therefore, we should worship. Now, I just want to note, this is a political announcement. I just want you to note the use of the word bhai, which literally in Bengali means brother. Does this mean that this song is only written to males? That's what it means, right? Forget about the women. But in every language, there's just like in English, we say, come on, guys. I could be talking to a bunch of females and I could still say, hey, come on, guys, let's go outside. Right? So that there are sometimes terms like that are technically, of course, in English, when I was a kid, and Prabhupada's books, English reflect this, that the masculine was used to refer to everybody. And when Prabhupada says he and him and mankind and men, he's not referring to only the male gender. That was how we used to use English then. We don't do that anymore. So people growing up since the language has changed may not understand that. But this is quite common. I mean, we've had some big controversies, I won't say exactly about what, but in ISKCON about certain words and saying, though this word is a masculine gender and it can only be used for men. But we find this phenomena in language. So here we're being told, worship. There's some reciprocation. Mercy is not just that we're completely passive. Now, some people think like that mercy means we're completely passive. And they give the analogy of what? What's the analogy for mercy being passive on our part, on the recipient's part? The sun shining everywhere, right? But then you still have to do what? You have to go outside. The typical one is the cat, the mother cat. So the kitten gets mercy without doing anything. The kitten gets mercy, and the cat just picks it up. The kitten just... But you know what? You have to be a kitten. If you're a mouse, you don't get that mercy. I know, because our local temple cat has decided that he really wants me to be his friend, which I'm not the friend of the cat. I don't pet the cat. I don't feed the cat. I've gotten 5 presents from the cat right outside my door now. The 5th one I got a few days ago. The cat keeps bringing me presents. And you can understand what kind of presents the cat gives, not ladoos. So, in order to get that mercy from the mother cat, one has to be a kitten. You follow? You have to be a kitten. You still have to do something. There is no absolute passive mercy that you do nothing and you get mercy. Now, having said that, sometimes some people get mercy because of the intervention of a third party. That does happen. There are people who are completely doing nothing, and because someone else prays for them, they get mercy. This does happen. But we are supposed to do something. So we should worship Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. How do we worship Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, by the way? Singing and dancing, nice kind of worship. Telling other people about it. I'm repeating for the internet, folks. And how? So we have to have some faith. Such is true in general. Whatever we do, we have to have some conviction about it in order for it to be fully efficacious. This is just a scientific fact. If you do something useless with faith, it can work. That's the whole science of placebo. You're familiar? 30% of the time, a placebo will cure somebody. 30% of the time. That's why all new pharmaceuticals have to be in a blind study against placebos. There's placebo surgery that cures people. Do you know as many people get cured from fake knee replacement surgery as real knee replacement surgery? The cure rate is the same. Wow. As my granddaughter would say, mind blown. How much faith we have in something affects how that works. It just does. Now, some things will work whether we have faith in them or not, obviously. But our faith matters. There's also a nocebo effect, by the way. If we're told that something will harm us, even if it's not harmful, we can get harmed by it. Our faith matters. So one should have faith. And how do we get this faith in Lord Chaitanya? From Lord Nityananda, from the devotees, and from experience. We try it. How do you know that Apurva's laddus are good? You taste one. I mean, you might first hear from someone else, oh, Apurva's a top cook. And so that you become inclined, and then your friends tell you he's a top cook, and then you taste it. All right. Is there a catch? Is there a catch? Yep. Now, these are pictures of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking sannyas. Here's the barber crying when he's cutting Mahaprabhu's hair. We do have to give up sense gratification. Therefore, for our first initiation, Prabhupada has us take 5 vows. One of them is chanting. It always, something I've thought about a lot. The only thing that Prabhupada makes us vow to do in bhakti is 16 rounds of japa. I've just found this fascinating. Like, I didn't take a vow of reading the Bhagavatam, but I took a vow of 16 rounds. So that's the one thing. That's a whole other discussion. And then the other 4 vows are this Vishayacharya, or giving up sense gratification. They're not in and of themselves bhakti. There are plenty of, celibate, teetotaler, vegetarian, non-gamblers who are atheists. I just read an article the other day about how celibacy is the new trend in the world. The author of the article thought that was a terrible thing. But it's really funny. But those things in and of themselves are not spiritual. So why do we need to do those 4 things or not do those 4 things? What is the reason? So again, going back to the concept that we are the offenders. And this is a difficult concept to grasp because most of us think that we're really nice people and really sincere people, and most people think that way. Even criminals, by the way, generally think that way. Like out-and-out criminals generally think they're really nice people who just like messed up or something or whatever. Or they think being bad is good, So we need to do something to show our sincerity. Yeah? Basically, it's like we've been having an affair with Maya. You follow? So it's like some married person, they're having an affair. They need to give up that association with their paramour. They can't just become more loving toward their spouse. They also have to say, well, I'm not going to see this person anymore. I'm not going to talk to them. I'm not going to communicate with them. If they say, oh, I love you, here's roses, here's flowers, and then the wife finds out he's still sending text messages to the other, it's not going to work. So we really need to give up our illicit affair with the illusory energy. We're not meant to enjoy Krishna's energy separate from Krishna. That's the whole problem, is that I'm trying to enjoy Krishna's energy separate from Krishna. I am meant to enjoy Krishna's energy as a servant of Krishna. That's a different thing. So there are some particular activities that when we do them, we will almost definitely forget Krishna and we will almost definitely get into an enjoying mentality. In one sense, Krishna is everywhere and everything, and one can be Krishna conscious in any situation, but there are certain things that if we engage in them, our ability to remember Krishna and to serve Krishna becomes greatly impeded. And therefore, we need to give them up. Now, in one sense, it's not a huge austerity. Those of us who've been following these principles for decades, we probably don't even think about it anymore. But for most people in Kali Yuga, these are pretty big austerities. They're pretty major. And ultimately, even for those of us who've been following these principles on the gross level for a long time, the independent enjoying spirit needs to be given up. This concept that I am an independent enjoyer, that I can enjoy without enjoying through Krishna, as Prabhupada would say. And this is the catch, this is the caveat. And this is the item which makes it so that most people in a spiritual progress don't advance very far in a particular lifetime. This going through the real anartha nivritti, this going through the real introspection and humility. Bhaktivinoda Thakur equates the 3rd verse of the Shikshashtaka. We saw such a nice dance of the Shikshashtaka yesterday. With nishta, with becoming fixed. One cannot become fixed in bhakti without humility, and one cannot become humble unless one actually faces how one is trying to enjoy separately from Krishna and is willing to root that out from the heart. Most conditioned souls, they want to, surrender to God and keep their sense gratification too. I've had that question asked so many times. Why can't I enjoy the world and serve Krishna? Well, you can, but you have to enjoy the world as a servant of Krishna through Krishna, not separately. So this is the bugaboo. This is the catch. And apparently it's very easy. Just give up illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, gambling. But in another sense, it's very difficult that one has to be really willing to be an introspective sage. And I mean, we find in general, and this is true for myself as well, that, trying to face and admit one's faults is extremely difficult. We will fight against it tooth and nail. Yes. So this is the bugaboo. All right, the positive side. And of course, this is where Mahaprabhu would cry unless everybody was chanting to him. So, of course, in Sankirtan, to chant with the other devotees as music, and to chant also as japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's the essence of it. I mean, we have so many parts in our practice of bhakti, but this is the essence. To chant the holy name of the Lord. It's free. No rules and regulations about it except don't be offensive. Prabhupada would say you can chant in the toilet room, you can chant on the bus, you can chant in the car, you can chant at your work, you can chant in your mind, you can chant out loud, you can chant on your beads, you can chant in kirtan. Not like other kinds of mantras, where first you have to take a bath and it has to be in a certain time of day. And the only thing is don't be offensive to the name.
দেখো ভাই ত্রিভুবনে নাই এমন দয়াল দাতন
That if we give up our separate enjoying spirit and chant the holy name, then we will be able to receive the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is a nice story where Lord Chaitanya would stay at the Garuda Stamba, the pillar of Garuda. He wouldn't go too close to the deities because the first time he came in the temple, he went really close to the deities and he had an ecstatic experience. And it was really kind of difficult. So he decided after that he was going to keep his distance a bit, stay by the Garuda Stamba. And there were a lot of people. If you've been to India, you know that there are often big crowds and people are pushing and shoving, and it's a thing sometimes to see the deities. So this old lady wanted to see the deities so much that she just started climbing, and she ended up climbing on the Lord to see the Lord. Right? And the Lord's servant, Govinda, you can see Govinda there, he's all upset and he's trying to pull her down. And Lord Chaitanya said, I wish I was this eager. Of course, once she got out of her kind of ecstatic trance and she realized she'd been climbing in a sannyasi, she felt kind of bad about the whole thing. But the Lord is so merciful that he's saying, oh, you're so eager, even if you're climbing on me. This is a wonderful thing. And we might think, well, I don't know, I'm too fallen, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get this mercy. But even if you're an animal, you can get this mercy. When Mahaprabhu was going to Vrindavan and he went through the Jharkhanda forest, he was getting the deer and the tiger, they were dancing with each other and kissing each other. The tigers, there were tigers in Vrindavan in those days. They were chanting. Right? Lord Chaitanya got Shivananda Sen's dog to chant Rama Rama and eat coconut prasadam. Dogs don't usually eat coconut. Even he got the animals to chant. So what's my problem? Right? If we're a human being, then we're definitely more qualified than an animal, yes? We're just human, that's enough. So we're qualified. If the tigers are qualified, we're qualified. You say, well, I don't know. It's still just kind of a basket case. Okay, even the stones. Forget about the animals. The stones. Mahaprabhu could melt stones. Of course, Krishna regularly melts stones. He plays his flute and the stones melt. The rivers flow backwards. There's one little song a devotee made, Kamalini may know it, about when Krishna plays his flute. And part of it says, and the birds all fall to the ground. And my daughter told me she was really upset about that as a kid, Are those birds okay? So the stones are melting. Actually, there's nice descriptions in the works of the Goswamis that when Radharani is singing or when Lalita is singing, that the stone platforms, if you've been to India, you see there's often stone platforms at the base of trees where you can sit. They'll build a raised bed. They'll plant a tree in a raised bed, and it's usually circular around the tree, and you can sit in this circular bed in the shade of the tree. And so when Lalita sings or when Radharani sings, when Krishna's consort sings, the stones melt and then they reform into different shapes, different colors. And these are not ordinary stones. Of course, these are jewels. They're made out of rubies, but they're alive. So we may have a very stone heart. The Bhagavatam says, if you're chanting Hare Krishna and your heart doesn't melt, it's due to offenses. Yes, this is one of the, as the Christians would say, convicting verses. Every time I read this verse, I'm like, oh no, I'm obviously full of offenses. It's so depressing. But even if our heart is made of stone or made of steel, the Bhagavatam talks about a steel-framed heart. I don't know, I often feel like I'm seeing Radha Golokananda, I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I'm reading the Bhagavatam, and still my heart is just like made out of steel. I'm sure none of you feel that way, but I often feel that way. It's like, what is wrong with me? But with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his mercy, he's in such a mood of mercy, in such a mood of giving and kindness, that even if our heart's made of stone, even if our heart's made of steel, still it can melt. Just by hearing about them. Oh. But I still feel so hopeless. Oh, that would be lovely. And helpless has to be from there because I've drunk out of it. Prabhu, you need to, hey, Anadi Krishna, you can't bring that cup in there now. You have to get the water from there. I still feel very helpless and very hopeless. This is at Shamakund, where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati installed the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. So I still feel, where's my attraction? Even after understanding this, all this experience, all this knowledge, all this association, still, thank you so much. Where is my attraction for Lord Chaitanya? And here's King Prataparudra. He also felt that he had no chance because his life involved doing things that are considered materialistic, that he had no chance to see Lord Chaitanya. So how did he get the chance to see Lord Chaitanya? How did that happen? Through the mercy of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, through the mercy of the devotees. So that is our hope. Our hope is by the mercy of the devotees. So remember, our mission for this class is that we were going to try to take at least one part of this song that we wanted to meditate on today, and we can be thinking of that again while we sing it. Parama Koruna Pahodui Jana Nitai Gora Chandra Na Pahodui Jana Nitai Sabhavatar Sarashiromani Kevala Nandakanda Sarashiromani Kevala Parama Koruna Pahodui Jana Nitai Gora Chandra Pahodui Jana Nitai Gora Chandra Sabhavatar Sarashiramani Kevala Nandakanda Sabhavatar Sarashiramani Kevala Nandakanda Bajo Bajo Bai Chaitanya Nitai Surida Vishwaswakori Bajo Bajo Bai Chaitanya Nitai Surida Vishwaswakori Vishaya Chadiya Sera Semajiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Chadiya Sera Semajiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Bajo Bajo Bai Chaitanya Nitai Surida Vishwaswakori Bajo Bajo Bai Chaitanya Nitai Surida Vishwaswakori Vishaya Chadiya Sera Semajiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Vishaya Chadiya Sera Semajiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari Deka Ore Bai Chibubane Nai E Monado Aila Data Tribhuvane Nai Monado Aila Pasupaki Jue Pasadavidare Shuni Janra Junagata Pasanavidare Shuni Janra Gunagata Deka Ore Bai Tribhuvane Nai E Monado Aladata E Monado Aladata Pasupaki Jue Pasanavidare Shuni Janra Gunagata Samsare Majia Rohili Poria Se Padena Hilo Asha Rohili Poria Se Padena Hilo Asha Apana Karama Bunjaye Shamana Kohe Lochana Dasa Samsare Majia Rohili Poria Se Padena Hilo Asha Apana karama bunjaya shamana kaho elochano dasa. Could we get the lights off, please? Come on, give me my. Oh, come on, come on. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Oops, not working. Okay. Thank you, Krishna. Hope you like that. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. What? You've never seen that before. Wow. Jai. Okay, we have just 2 minutes till the curtains open. If you would like to, you can turn to the person next to you and tell them which part of the song of Paramakarna you're going to be meditating on today. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Enam Kanbanda Aravindalayatatam Bhavatam Samasitam Purasundaram Dandar Atom Vidamaniya Kishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Namaham Bhajami Angani Asla Kriya Priti Manti Vasyanti Bhakti Kayanti Viramagari Ananda Chimaya Sadu Dala Vikrasya Govindam Adipurusham Namaham bhajami Govinda Hari Krishna bhajami Govinda Hari Krishna bhajami Govinda Hari Krishna
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Toya Koromore Toma Bina Ke Dayalawu Jagansare Toya Koromore Tom. You got to listen to the rhythm, please. Okay. You got to listen to how I chant. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu